Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Hope you're all well. Welcome to another album ranking, and today we have the first episode of the Eric Clapton story. So we are starting, of course, with the Yardbirds. Now, when I was going to do this, I was in two minds. Do I just do what Eric's done, or do I do the whole band? And as I like this band a lot, and I like the other stuff they've done outside of Eric Clapton's time with the band, I thought, no, I've got to include it all. And I've included a couple of live albums as well, because Eric plays on the live albums, and I thought, well, we've got to put them in. So the Yardbirds, English rock band formed in London in 1963. That core lineup featured vocalist and harmonica player the late Keith Relf, drummer Jim McCarthy, guitarist bassist Chris Drager, bassist and producer Paul Samuel Smith, and also it's had three rather very famous guitarists as well in the band. Of course, there's Mr. Slowhand Eric Clapton, Mr. Jimmy Page and Mr. Jeff Beck, whom were all ranked in the top 5 of the Rolling Stone magazine's list of 100 greatest guitarists. Wow, that's an accolade, that a band have had 3 of the best, well, according to Rolling magazine, best guitarists ever. Obviously they started off as a blues band, noted for their rave up instrumental breaks, especially for Mr. Eric Clapton. And then they broadened themselves into pop, pioneering psychedelic rock, early hard rock, and of course they have been contributed to a lot of the innovations of the mid 60s guitars sounds. A lot of bands have been influenced their styles. So I've got 7 albums. I haven't included any compilations because there's loads. There's more compilation albums of the Yardbirds than actually studio albums. And with those American releases, British releases and all sorts. So what I've done, I've just put them all together and included 2 really good live albums that you cannot leave out in this. So this is a mixture of live and studio albums. So we've got 7 to look at. So coming in at number 7, we have an album that was released in 2003 called Birdland. This features Jim McCarthy and Chris Drager, who reformed the group in 1994. And this album contains some new songs and 8 remakes of classic Yardbirds songs. So on the album we've got Chris Drager on the rhythm guitar, Alan Glenn on harmonica and percussion, John Iain on bass guitar and lead vocals, Japai Mayo on lead guitar, Jim McCarthy on the drums. Also appearing on this album are Jeff Baxter, guitarist, Jeff Beck comes and has a play, Steve Lukather, Brian May, Joe Satriani / Stevie Vai and Johnny Resnick. Okay, the first track on here is I'm Not Talking. It's got that typical obviously that's signature sound. It's got a good guitar solo on here, pretty good. Crying Out for Love, I like this track, great guitar work on this one as well. Don't know who's playing the actual solo on it, but it's pretty damn good. And then a stonking version of the Nazar Blue. This features Jeff Baxter. Love this track. I love this track anyway, and the solo by Jeff Baxter on there is pretty good. Then we got the classic For Your Love with Johnny Resnick playing the guitars. Really good track, of course. Please Don't Tell Me About the News. Love harmonica on here from Alan Glenn. Does a really good job on it. Train Kept a Rolling. Pretty good. This features Joe Satriani. Great guitar solo. Mr. Saboteur. Don't mind this. It's quite heavy in places. Good guitar riffs. Let me get The Shape of Things. Stevie Vai plays on this. It's a great track, but Stevie Vai's a great guitarist, but I don't think it really... his style of playing doesn't fit that song, as much as I like Stevie Vai. My Blind Life, another great track, great harmonica from Alan on that. And we have the classic Over Under Sideways, and features Slash. And Slash does a damn good solo on that. Then we've got my favourite track on here, You're a Better Man Than I. This features Brian May. Great guitar work from Brian. Wonderful. Mystery of Being, not a bad track, like that one as well. Dream Within a Dream, another good track. Now this is a poem written by Edgar Allan Poe, and McCartney put some music to it. Got a nice guitar solo, it's okay. Happenings 10 years ago. Another great song from the past. Steve Lukather does the guitar solo on it, and he did a pretty good job of it. Then we have a song that's dedicated to Keith Relf, an original man. That's a nice tribute to the godfather of the Yardbirds. It's really nice to hear the guys doing a little tribute to him. Okay, it's an odd album. It's got a mixture of new songs and classics. It's pleasant enough. It's not a bad album. Quite enjoy listening to it. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 6, we have an album that was released in 1967. It was the 4th American album as well. It's the first when they became a quartet, and it's Little Games. On here we've got Keith Relf vocals, harmonica and percussion, Jimmy Page on the guitars, Chris Drager bass guitar, Jim McCarty on the drums, and there's just a list of people on here that come and do bits and bobs. Nicky Hopkins does some of the keyboards. John Paul Jones does a lot of bits and bobs on it, cello arrangements and bass and orchestral sort of stuff. Rick Nielsen does some organ. Ian Stewart does some piano. So the first track is the title track, Little Games. Like this track. Some good guitar work on there from a certain Mr. Page. Smile on Me. Even at this stage of Jimmy, Jimmy's been around a little while doing lots of sessions, so he was a great guitarist before he got into the Yardbirds. He plays brilliant on that, really good. Then we get White Summer, of course, great track. Jimmy, of course, does this. Used to play this part of his guitar solo when he was in Zeppelin. Pretty cool. Tinker Tailor Soldier Sailor, one of them classic sort of poppy late 60s songs. Pretty cool song. Glimpses. It's very experimental, and I'm not very keen on it, to be quite honest. It's got some great little bits of guitar, but I just think this song was about 3 years before its time. I never really got into it though. Drinking Muddy Water. Love the harmonica on here from Keith Relf. Superb harmonica, and then he works well with a bit of Jimmy Page guitar work. No Excess Baggage. Like this one, got some really good riffs in that. Stealing Dealing. This is a little bit different, but it's a good track. Only the Black Rose, another good track, very psychedelic. Some great guitar textures from Jimmy. Then we got Little Soldier Boy, really weird track again, very experimental, pushing the boundaries, and it has got some nice guitar work from Jimmy. There are some good tracks on this album. It has got some experimental stuff that really it just sits odd on the album. You know, they were pushing boundaries, and you got to take your hats off for that. But it doesn't really sit well on the album because there's not that continuity. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, then, coming in at number 5. This is an album that was released in 1966. Depends where you live is what it was called. If you was in the UK, it was the Yardbirds. In America, it was Roger the Engineer. And in Germany and France and Italy, it was over, under, sideways, down. Very confusing. It's the only album that featured Jeff Beck in its entirety, and it was produced by bassist Paul Samwell Smith. So we got Keith Relf on lead vocals, except the NASA Blue and harmonica, Jeff Beck lead guitar and lead vocals on the NASA Blue, Chris Drager, of course, Paul Samwell Smith, and the ever-present Jim McCarty. First track is Lost Woman. Really funky stuff on this. It's pretty different. Great bass from Samwell Smith. I love that track. Then we have the brilliant Over, Under, Sideways, Down. I love this track. It's a classic track, of course. It's really good. I Can't Make Your Way. Not the best track, but it has got some fabulous guitar work from Jeff Beck. Farewell, a short, but it's just a bit of showboating from Jeff Beck. There's nothing wrong with that. Then we got the Hot House of Omega Rashid. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's really weird and wonderful. Some more good guitar work. Then we get Jeff's Boogie. Best thing on here. Love that boogie sound that Jeff got. Great guitar player. Been in made some good music. Yes, we will be doing a Jeff Beck at some stage. Then we have Always There. Bit blue. It's a great little bluesy number. Really good. Nothing wrong with that. Turn to Earth. Great track. Great boogie rock blues sound. Really good. What Do You Want? Quite a little rocker track this is. Great stuff. And then we get Ever Since the World Began. Not my thing. I just couldn't get into this track. Never have done. Really struggled with that one. Okay, this album is a bit of a hit and miss here. There's some really good tracks, but what is good about this is all the guitar work from Jeff Beck. There's not much cohesion on it. It's all bitty and bobs and that, but it's still a decent album to listen to, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in number 4. Again, this has got different titles, depends where you're from and thing. It's Having a Rave Up with the Yardbirds, or Having a Rave Up, released in 1965, 8 months after Jeff Beck replaced Eric Clapton. And this album includes both guitarists and reflects the group's blues rock roots and experimentations for psychedelic rock. So you got Keith Relf on here, vocals and harmonica and acoustic guitar. Jeff Beck plays the guitar on side 1. Eric Clapton plays the lead guitar on side 2. Chris Drager plays the rhythm, of course, but on Paul Samwell Smith on the bass and Jim McCarty on the drums. First song on this one, You're a Better Man Than I. It's a great track anyway from both, you know, you got it on that remake, but this is great guitar work from Jeff, love it. Evil Hearted You, classic sounding, but Yardbirds, really good song. I'm a Man, Bo Diddley track of course, but this is a brilliant song. Anyway, I love that. It's just great. I've got, there's 2 versions of this. There's the version with Eric and Jeff, and they're both as good as ever. Each other, brilliant. Then we have the brilliant Still I'm Sad. I love this. There's been so many versions of this, of course. Rainbow, of course, I've covered it. That is a brilliant track. Love it. Then we get Heart Full of Soul. Again, brilliant song. Love the guitar work from Jeff on this. Just one of my favourite songs by the band. Then we get Train Kept a Rollin', a classic song of course. I think everyone's covered that. Motorhead have, of course. Most nobility, best. Shall I just say, like, I've got a bit of the arc rights today. Train Kept a Rollin', of course, is Aerosmith did a great version of that. Okay, side 2 is some live stuff, and we'll be talking about that very shortly. But the songs on here from Eric is Smokestacking Lightning, Respectable, I'm a Man, and Here It Is. Yeah, the first side of this album has got some of them classic Yardbird songs, and the live stuff with Clapton, which we're talking about very shortly. It's a great little listen to anyway, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6.5. Right, let's have a sip of something to get me teeth in place. Yeah, don't know, I got a bit tongue-tied there, didn't I? Right, coming in at number 3. Now this is a live album. Recorded at the Crawl Daddy Club in Richmond, Surrey on the December the 8th, 1963, but was not released till 1966, and it's Sonny Boy Williamson and the Yardbirds. What a gig that would have been. So obviously we've got Sonny Boy Williamson on vocals and harmonica, Eric Clapton on guitar, Chris Drager on guitar, Jim McCarty on drums, Paul Samwell Smith on the bass, and Keith Relf on this is what it says on the cover. Keith Relf is hand clapping, shouting and foot tapping. Bye Bye Bird opens up the album. Willie Dixon and Williamson, little number, brilliant. Sonny's harmonica playing is just out the top drawer, one of the best in the business. Mr. Downchild, great track. The guitar work from Eric on this is amazing. This young guitarist, people have said that, you know, is the best white guy to ever play the blues, and I totally agree. I don't know if one of the greats said that, but it's a brilliant track. 23 hours too long. Them delicate guitar bits from Eric. You're going along and you got that nice rhythm, and then you get these little touches of genius from Eric. Brilliant. Out on the Water Coast. Eric's guitar work in this is stonking. It's an absolutely brilliant track. Baby Don't Worry, Just some great blues. That's all I can say. It's just brilliant. Pontiac blues. Jim's drumming in this is solid, and it's great vocal from Sonny Boy. Absolutely brilliant. Sonny Boy. Take It Easy Baby, my favourite track on this album. I love Eric's guitar work on this, is superb, and some great vocal from Sonny again, brilliant stuff. I Don't Care No More. This is just a showboating for Sonny Boy Williamson, one of the best harmonica players on the planet, or was. Brilliant. Do the Western, solid blue trucks, nothing wrong with that. This is a great live album. Okay, the recordings are a little bit muffled in that, but the recording in 1963, what do you expect? But it's a great live blues album, and it's an album that I've been playing for many a year, and I'll give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 2, we have the live debut album, 5 Live Yardbirds. It was recorded at the Marquee Club in 1964, and it features, of course, Eric Clapton on guitar and co-lead vocals on Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, Chris Strager, Jim McCarty, Keith Relf, Paul Samuel Smith. There's no original stuff on here, it's just all classic blues and rock and roll. So the first track is Too Much Monkey Business, the Chuck Berry number. Great version of this song, brilliant stuff. I've got Love If You Want It, Slim Harpo song. Great harmonica from Keith on this, brilliant track. Then we get Howlin' Wolf, Smokestack Lightning, great version, great guitar work from Eric. Then we get Good Morning Little Schoolgirl, written by Don Level and Bob Love, just a classic track. Great guitar here from Eric, and Keith on the harmonica. Them two really hooked into the groove there, brilliant stuff. Then we get Respectable, written by the Isley Brothers. Eric is on fire. It's not the best recording, but God, couldn't you tell? What a great guitar player, even 1964. He was going for it, brilliant stuff. Then we get 5 Years Long, the Eddie Boyd number. It was just some incredible blues. You know, if there would have been one gig I would have loved to have been at, it would have been this one. Just amazing to hear Eric right at the beginning of his career. Absolutely stonking track. Pretty Girl, another Bo Diddley. Great guitar work from Eric on here. Then we get a song from one of my favourite blues guitarist singers, John Lee Hooker. This is Louise, and I love this version of Louise. Eric does a brilliant job on the guitars on this, absolutely fantastic. Then we get a live version of I'm a Man, terrific song. And then here it is, ferocious guitar work here from Eric. Oh, rocky, bluesy, everything. He just goes mental. My favourite track on this album, it just absolutely brilliant. Okay, the recordings on here again are pretty basic, distorted in places. I bet it was recording on a little, probably a reel-to-reel thing or something with a little microphone, but it's just very nostalgic and pretty impressive. Forget the quality, just listen to the great music. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, my number one album, first album I ever got by the Yardbirds, released in 1965, and it's For Your Love. It does record. It features a lot of the early recordings that Eric did with the band. So we got Keith Relf, Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck. I think appears on one or two tracks. Chris Drager, Paul Samwell, and Jim McCarthy. Opens up, of course, with For Your Love, my favourite track by the Yardbirds. Love that track. I'm Not Talking. This track does feature Jeff Beck. It's brilliant. Putty in Your Hands. That opening riff from Eric. It's something that you'll get through the rest of his career. That sort of little chinky sort of sound. Great stuff. Great track. I Ain't Got You. A short little track, but some great riffs from Eric. Got to Hurry. Harmonica on this from Keith is brilliant. And of course Eric's guitar playing is brilliant as well. I Ain't Done Wrong. This features Jeff Beck. Great guitar work from Jeff. And of course you've got Keith Relf's brilliant harmonica playing. I Wish You Would. That combination of Eric and Keith on this is brilliant. Blues in Harmony, brilliant stuff. A Certain Girl, solid track, nothing wrong with that. Sweet Music, probably the worst version of this song I've ever heard, don't like it. Then we get Good Morning Little School Girl, great track anyway, some great harmonica. Then the last track is My Girl Sloopy, featured Jeff Beck. Brilliant track. Good way to end the album. I think this album actually captures some of the great work, early work of the Yardbirds. You know, it's got a mixture of Eric's tracks and a couple of Jeff's. It's a solid album. Eric Clapton, he was, you know, even as a young man, he was you could tell there was greatness when you listen to it now. Same with Jeff. You know, I with the Yardbirds, I haven't got a favourite era. I just like the Yardbirds because it has got three of my favourite guitarists. You can't go wrong. Keith Relf was a great harmonica player. Jim McCarthy on the drums, solid as ever. He was just a solid drummer. Even on that, when they reformed that album, he could still play that solid beat. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, so that's part 1 of Mr. Eric Clapton. I think we've got 4 or 5 parts in this little mini series. So next week we move on to Blues Breakers, and I'm only doing the one album because there's too many and he only played on the one album. But for those that are into the John Mayall Blues Band, I will be doing a full ranking later in the year. But today we have got retro ranking, and it's another little special where we're looking at the non-album tracks and singles of Sweet, because we just couldn't leave them out. So I'll be back for that later, and hopefully I'd have sorted my teeth out, ups and downs, and I'm not going to re-record this because it's just warts and all today. Okay then, I will see you later for that. Bye for now.